How's it guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about the anesthetic triangle. So why this is relevant? Well, when you are dealing with patients and you have sedatives, you have analgesias, and you have paralytics, that creates the anesthetic triangle. And the reason we're needing to talk about this is because when you're only dealing with one part of the triangle, the other part of the triangles are very vulnerable. So someone might sedate you, but not deal with the pain, which is the analgesia or the paralytics. And in the same way, someone might be paralyzed and they might still be fully awake because they've had no sedation, and they might be feeling everything because they've had no analgesia. So only when you deal with all three sides of the triangle do you actually deal with all of the parts of dealing with someone who is sedated. Something that I really wish I knew a long time ago was, well, something I learned quite early on in my career, was that you cannot sedate someone who is in pain. The part of the brain that makes us awake is much stronger than the part of the brain that puts us to sleep. So imagine you're in a lot of pain and you're trying to sleep, you can't sleep. So if you're having a patient who you're really struggling to sedate, and the issue that you're having is that they're just not working. Sometimes you're giving them like 10, 15 milligrams of diazepam and they're just not even going nearly or anywhere asleep. It's most likely because they're in pain. Deal with the pain first. Once the pain is gone, the sedation needs will be much lower and you will have managed the pain and sedation. No need to paralyze in a situation like that. And so the same goes for when you paralyze someone. If you paralyze someone and you don't give them enough sedation or analgesia, they're going to be awake and feeling stuff, or they might just be sleeping and feeling stuff and not able to move. These are all aspects of the triangle that we need to be very aware of. A scale that I have found, which is really helpful, is called the Raz Scale, R-A-S-S. This is sort of like a GCS, but it's more specific. It's more helpful when it comes to sedation, or if you're transporting someone who is intubated, in that what that means is, so a Raz score of above 0 means that they're going from being more awake to combative. So from 1 to 4 is like sort of awake to like very combative, very aggressive. And then -1 to -4 is from sleepy to completely unconscious. So when you are transporting someone and they are intubated, you can have a choice to have them at a -1 Raz or a -4 Raz scale. What that means is that when you're transporting someone who is ventilated, we know it's better for them to be breathing, because if they're breathing, they are augmenting their blood pressure. It means that they're not going to get stuck on the vent for too long. But the issues we have with this is that if they're paralyzed, they can't breathe. But if they're paralyzed, we're not always very aware of their sedation or their analgesia needs. So the best way to actually deal with this, and I'll put some links in the description about some of the studies that were done, was that if you manage people on ventilators with a lot more analgesia than you do sedation, they're actually on the ventilator a whole lot less, and their sedation needs are a whole lot less. So if you do analgesia first sedation when patients are ventilated, you're aiming for a Raz scale of -1. What that means is that if I talk to the patient, their eyes can open up and they'll look at me, and then they'll daze off. A Raz scale of -2 means that if I tap them on the shoulder or I give them a slight physical touch of some sort, they'll then wake up. A Raz scale of -4 means that they're completely unconscious and nothing I do will wake them up. So you're kind of aiming for a Raz scale of -1, -2 when you're transporting. The reason why that's really helpful is that you are able to clearly document the sedation level of the patient, but also it's a good reminder that when we see the patient moving and we just give them a paralytic, we're not dealing with the analgesia or the sedation. So just remember the next time you're with a patient who maybe is sedated with just like some dormicum, so there's no analgesia, or if you're transporting a patient who is intubated and they've just been paralyzed and you don't know, or you haven't given them something for pain for quite a while, you might see an increase in their heart rate quickly. And that can be a very good indicator of them actually feeling pain. you can also see a increase in their blood pressure, which also might be an indicator of pain. And just remember, guys, we as paramedics need to be there for our patients. They can't talk, so we need to talk for them, and we need to try and push for what they need and to be aware that even if they're not moving and even if they're not awake, they can still feel pain. And so, yeah, hope this was helpful, or you guys learned something. If you enjoyed it, please hit like, subscribe if you have any comments, or if you've had any scenarios or patients where you've had something happen to you and it was strange or interesting, or you learned something through a transfer. I'd love to hear about it, and I'll see you guys in the comments.